I'm here with Eric Dickerson, former NFL running back and Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for being here with me.
You're welcome, Chloe.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL Combine that's coming up.
Okay, no problem.
Do you remember your days at the Combine?
Yeah, matter of fact, the Combine, when I got drafted, was in Seattle, Washington. And you'd come in really sometimes 2 to 3 days before the Combine. It's not like it is now, you know, where it's all on television. It was nothing like that. I was in Seattle, and I remember I'd ran the 40 at SMU, so I wouldn't run the 40. I didn't run the 40 at the Combine. They had me do a vertical jump, side-backs machine where they wanted to test your leg strength, and a shuttle drill. I did those, and also just catching passes. So, you know, it's nothing like, it's not as you know, glamorous as it is now. Back in my day, it was kind of small, and only people that were there were actually coaches, general managers, and just a few writers and the players, and that was it.
Wow. And so how long did you prepare for the Combine?
Not at all. I hate to say it. I mean, really, you know, it was a different time. It really was. Like, we didn't have all the trainers and all the fitness stuff and, you know, all the nutrition, trying to eat right. I really didn't work out that much. You know, I was fast. I'd already ran my 40 at SMU. I ran a 4.31, a 4.3 flat, so I was good there. They really kind of wanted to just see you. You know, they didn't even, you know, they got to do all this testing and stuff where they talk to you. They didn't do a lot of that. You know, they asked you questions about pretty much, would you like to play in Washington, or would you like to play in Dallas, you know, or would you like to play in LA? You know, what do you think about, you know, playing in the National Football League? You know, they were kind of general questions, but nothing like it is now.
And so, like it is now, how important do you think your performance is at the Combine?
It's very important. I mean, now at the Combine, if you perform very well, let's just say that you were projected to be a second-round pick. Let's say a middle or low second-round pick, or even third-round pick. If you do very well at the Combine, that could almost prepare you to the first round, late first round. It really can. If you're a high first-round pick and you do very poorly at the Combine, it could drop your stock dramatically. So it means a lot to do well at the Combine. I think, you know, to me, they put too much stock in that 40-yard dash. I mean, they really do, because, you know, you got to understand, those guys are in tights, you know, on a track pretty much, running a 40 in track shoes. That's not football. You don't do that. If you want to really get a real idea of what the football is like, you put them in shoulder pads and a helmet and football pants and have run a 40. That would be a realistic football drill, running, not in cleats. But I just believe that the Combine is really, it helps a lot of guys, and it can also hurt your stock.
Do you think that having a pro day at your college, does that help if you don't perform well at the Combine?
It does, because, you know, that's where you're comfortable at, and you're not as nervous. I mean, you going to the Combine, it is nerve-wracking. I got to say, even for me, when I went, and I didn't really do that much, I was still nervous. I mean, because, you know, all of a sudden you see guys that you've seen before, guys you've heard about, even though you didn't play against them. All these coaches out now, you know, right now, all these cameras, you know, and everybody's talking about your stock. You know, he's going to do this, he's great, he's that. And all of a sudden, you don't perform well, he didn't perform well, you know, and then you go back to your room and you hear that kind of stuff, you know, and then you got to go back another day to do other drills. I mean, it can hurt you. And guys, like I say, you be very uptight. You can be very uptight, you know, in the Combine. It's just like playing a football game. I mean, before every game, you know, you're very nervous.
Yeah, and since it is such a big deal, how hard is it to get an invite?
It's very hard to get an invite. You have to be invited by the National Football League. You know, some guys don't get invites. You know, some players don't get invited. They do end up making the NFL just because teams know about them. They'll get an outside invite, not to the Combine, but they come to work out, you know, at their facility, or they'll go look at them work out. But it's very difficult to get an invite, and not like the old days. I mean, when I played, you'd have on a football team, you may have 90 players out there on the team. You might have 20 running backs, you know. you don't have that anymore. You have, you know, 20 receivers. You'd have 110, 20 guys out there, double numbers. You know, those days are way long gone.
Yeah, and is that because they don't want to pay them, or?
Well, you know, it's because they don't want to be responsible if you get hurt. You know, if you get hurt all of a sudden, you know, now they're going to have to take some responsibility if you're getting hurt. Back when we played, and I keep saying going back in our day, as I keep saying that, if you got injured, let's just say you got injured during the season and you were kind of maybe on the roster and you wasn't playing, but they want to cut you, what they would do, they say, you know, put your uniform on, go out and just jog around, see how you feel in your uniform. They have the camera at the top and they film you. They film you. That's how they got to cut you, because they say, oh, he's healthy enough to put his uniform on and play. I know that. That's just how they did it. First thing we tell a guy, man, don't put that uniform on. Don't put that uniform on.
Wow. So if you don't get invited to the combine and you don't perform in front of scouts and players and nobody comes to see you, is it unlikely that you'll be drafted?
In a sense, that's a good thing. That is a good thing not to get drafted. If you don't get drafted, then in a sense you can almost choose your team if there's interest in you. A prime example is my cousin Ricky Seals Jones. He didn't get drafted. It was three years ago now. He plays for the Arizona Cardinals now, and I told him he might not get drafted because he had changed positions from receiver to tight end. I just thought he'd be a better tight end because, I looked at him as a guy that was 6'6", 200 and possibly 40 pounds, and it's hard for a defensive back or a safety to cover him. So I call him a hybrid. I see you're a hybrid tight end. So he went to the combine, did well in the combine, did very well in the combine, but didn't get drafted. But as soon as the draft was over, the first team to call him was the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals called him, the Houston Texans, and I've got to think the Cincinnati Bengals called him. The Cardinals wanted him very badly. The Texans said he could start from right away. And he asked me, he said, Eric, what do you think? Who you think I should sign with? I said, who called you first? He said, Arizona. I said, I think Arizona, because I knew someone in there. I knew my friend Roy Green that played for Arizona. I knew Bruce Arians, and I knew that would be a good place for him. Well, sure enough, he got a chance to kind of pick his team, negotiate, a signing bonus, because when you drafted, you can't negotiate that. All that stuff is already set in. So it was good for him, and I think sometimes it's good for players. But if you don't get drafted, that's not the end all be all. If you're a good athlete, if they know about you. If they don't know about you, nobody has you on their radar, then that could be a problem.
Yeah. And who would you draft first?
In the draft coming up?
Yeah, in the draft coming up.
Oh, gosh. Chloe, first of all, I don't even know who's going in the draft. I'm always big on need. It's not about, sometimes we were taught back in our day, you take the best available player. If I had the first pick and I needed a quarterback, would I take a quarterback? More than likely, If I had the first pick and my offensive line was beat up pretty badly, I need an offensive line like I'll say, use an example like Arizona, and they don't have the first pick. They'll have a very high pick. They need offensive linemen very badly. I mean, because David Johnson is getting killed, the young quarterback there, Josh Rosen, is getting killed. So you have to protect your guys. So for me, you have to take the need. What do you need? I mean, sometimes it's not the popular pick, it's not the flashy pick. But you have to take, as a good football personnel person, you have to look at what do we need, not what do the fans want us to take. What does our football team need?
And I know you mentioned you haven't really followed it, but do you have any running backs that you've been watching, looking out for?
I don't know any running backs in the draft. I know these guys when they get in the league. I don't really watch a lot of college football. I just say I don't watch college football at all. I couldn't name you one. I couldn't name one. I saw Kyler Murray. I know he's going to possibly go into the draft. I do like Kyler Murray. I think he's a great talent. I think he's undersized. I really believe that. One thing about playing quarterback in the NFL, these guys are big guys. The guys that's rushing. A lot of these guys are 6'4", 6'5", and I think he's 5'8", something like 5'9". And when they put their arms up, I mean, they're like 6'7" all of a sudden. It's not just one of them. It's 3 or 4 guys across the front. The things that you get away with in college, like college, running and all that, he's fast, but Michael Vick was fast. Ronald Cunningham was fast. So it's a different era, it's a different league, but do I know all the players? I'll know the players before the draft, let's put it like this. Before the draft comes up, I'll have an idea of who's who and what's what.
Yeah. And
what we need, the Los Angeles Rams, I look at our team, we need offensive linemen. I really believe we need offensive linemen and a speed rusher. That's what we need. And, possibly some linebackers. But every team needs something like that.
It's true, especially when injuries arise.
Most definitely, and that's a big part of football. I think people don't realize how important it is to stay healthy. That's very important in pro football because, when you play a game and all of a sudden an offensive lineman gets hurt, 1 or 2 offensive linemen get hurt, a fan or the public may not know how important that is. But to the team, when you lose an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, it changes the makeup of your football team. It really does, because now you can't do the things that you want to do. This guy doesn't pass block as well. He doesn't run block as well. He doesn't do both. He's just a guy that's kind of maybe shouldn't even be in the league, but we have him. We have to start him because he knows our system. and that hurts the football team. And you know, a lot of people don't. They're like, why we can't stop the run? Why we can't protect our quarterback? Well, you got two offensive linemen out, but people don't think about that.
That's very true. So we've been talking a lot about the draft and the combine. Do you remember the day that you were drafted?
Yes, I do. I forgot the day, the exact day, but it was 1983. I remember where I was. I'd got the call the night before. Well, but leading up to the draft, I was going to go possibly one or two. One or two. They kept going one. I'm gonna go one. You'll be first pick or second pick. Mm-hmm. And if you're talking about John Elway, because John Elway possibly going to go play baseball if he went to the Baltimore Colts at the time, which is now the Indianapolis Colts. And the day before, the Rams, I talked to the Rams. They called me. I talked to the Houston Oilers. The Houston Oilers had the second pick. The Rams had the third pick. And the Colts had the first pick. I didn't really talk to the Colts that much because, I didn't think I'd be first pick. I just thought probably they'd take a quarterback. And the night before, John Robinson called me from the Los Angeles Rams and said that we have made a trade for you. We're not exactly said trade. We made a swap. We swapped with Houston. They were second, so we took their spot. We're gonna draft you in the morning. So we have a flight for you to fly to LA. I think my flight left at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So be on that flight. And so I won't forget. I told my best friend, we're still best friends, Charles Brayton. Man, we laughed and we went out that night, and and got drunk, and had a good time. And I flew to Dallas that next morning. I was in the car, driving in the car when I heard that I got drafted. And I'll say this much here: it's never good to drink and drive. Say that. I was not driving; my friend was driving. So I'm gonna put that out there. But I was in the car driving when I got drafted, and he was driving, and I won't forget the Baltimore. The Baltimore Colts took John Elway first, and they said on the clock next to the Los Angeles Rams, and we sit and listen in the car, and he said the Rams take a quick pick, running back Eric Dickerson from Southern Methodist University, and so boom, I was drafted, and I got to the airport. Everybody was congratulating me. I was getting ready to fly to LA, and I came to LA, and met the guy that picked me up at the airport. And the thing about it is, I thought that the Rams were in LA, but they were in Anaheim. And I won't forget the guy that picked me up, his name Ray San Jose. And we used to call him, they called him Heza. And they called him Heza because they say, he's a Ram. That was his thing. He's a Ram, he's a Ram. So when he picked me up, and all of a sudden, because I'd been to LA before once, to come to USC on a recruiting visit. And as I'm driving, he's driving me, I'm like, but LA's behind us, isn't it? He said, yeah, we're in Anaheim. I never heard of Anaheim. I had no idea. So I'm like, okay. So I get to Anaheim. I meet Georgia. I meet John Robinson. I meet the general manager, John Shaw. And, had my press conference. And I was there for, about, 6, 7 hours. Then I flew back to Dallas that night, that evening. And my friend picked me up again. And we went out again, and got a little toasted. And that was when I got drafted.
Sounds like an experience.
Well, it was an experience, I got to tell you.
Do you have any advice for guys that are about to experience a similar thing?
I'll tell any young guy, any young man that's about to get drafted, your life is going to change. It's going to change dramatically, and for the good and sometimes for the bad, because you'll have all the guys that's think to say they're your best friends. You're going to have all the relatives that, man, you remember me, I'm your cousin so-and-so, can you give me $10,000? I got an idea. And that happens all the time. And you have to have the right people around you. And that's hard to say, especially for, I got to say, a young black man, a young black kid, even a white kid that didn't come from a background of having somebody that's educated. And I'm not trying to call anyone uneducated, but people that can guide you in the right direction, people that know how to handle money. Not somebody that says they know how to handle money, really handle your money, pay your taxes, if you're looking for a house, just everything that you need to do, really staying out of trouble. Because, when you come to the National Football League now, everything is on social media and television, it's cameras everywhere. When we played, it wasn't like that. So it's a big difference. So my thing for any young guy would be, enjoy it, because it don't last long, I can say that, but be very careful with it, but really enjoy it and take full advantage of it, because it's an opportunity that some kids won't get but once. You know, you may get this opportunity one time and that's it, or you might get it twice and that's it, but take full advantage of it.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with me.
Thank you. No problem, Chloe. I mean, I'm glad. I like what you're doing here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For Annenberg Media Sports, I'm Chloe Chrysikopoulos.